These days I hear too many people talking about what we should and shouldn't say if we don't trust our government and we don't consent to what it does. We think it's abusive. I hear that and I think of the old adage. When the government fears its people, there is freedom. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. I think of this often because I encourage things like not paying taxes right now. The only tax they should get is when you buy a gallon of gas, and that's because you gotta get to work. Because the politicians don't listen anymore. They go to Washington, they change. They're not who they were when they first talked to you. And if they don't listen, how else are you supposed to show your lack of content, your discontent, or your fact that you don't approve of the government anymore? By not giving it money, saying, I do not agree with how you spend my money, so you do not deserve it. If enough people stood up and did this and didn't have fear, they would have to listen, and the entitlement state would end, and things would have to change. So to all those who fear the government and what they can do, who are so worried about losing the trivial things they have now, that they're willing to risk really losing the important things like freedom, I wrote this to you. And if you agree, I wrote this as a voice to our feelings about who should fear what and what the real right way of looking at this is. So thank you for watching. Here I go. Go ahead, fear your government. It's what they want. But know your fear is an insult. For your rights were earned by those who would not fear. The hope and the sacrifice of the fallen soldiers and patriots should inspire you, for they gave that full measure, hoping it would let this idea that's America live. This country is just another piece of ground, but the idea it represents is priceless and unique, and most of all necessary. Necessary because without that idea, the earth is a dark and uninviting place that the spark that is man has to live in chains. For 2,000 years, men made sparks in the darkness, but could not kindle freedom's fire. Finally enough men had made sparks that it ignited a small group of men. Men who faced a great empire and its army. Men who only had 1 in 3 of their countrymen's support. Men who, having considered all that, should have been afraid. These men knew the price of their failure, if they were to fail, was certain death. Yet they stood. And they cried out in that darkness, no. And in the instant they did that, the blackness was lifted, and a fire roared to life. And in the heart of that fire was freedom. The fire they lit was so hot that it burnt the British and sent them packing. And the light was so bright that slavery was no match for it when that time came. And its warm glow drew the tired, the weak, and the hungry from across the world. And this fire burnt with that glow for over a century. But we forgot that like all fires man sparks, it must be kept alive through effort. Now the fire grows dim. Will we let it die? What if you, or I, or we, are the logs that will make that fire roar again? Are the trivial trappings and luxuries of our time so precious that we will ignore that call? We must dig deep and find that patriot's hope. That selfless hope that through what we give, we will sustain the fire. That we will hold back the darkness. But we can only do that if we do not let fear rule us. Freedom is the prize of the fearless. It belongs to those who put emotion aside because they know what is right. Soldiers know this feeling when they kiss their loved ones and head to battle to fight for them. In this dark time, as the flames grow thin, we must all be soldiers and give our fear no quarter. Fear not death. Life is not so sweet that it is worth living in chains. All we should fear is living in chains, forever with our shame, if we do nothing. Thank you for listening.